Hi, in this series of videos, we're going to discuss our residential listing net sheet. So a preliminary net sheet before a property gets listed is a requirement of our brokerage when working with a new listing client. It is both as agents, our fiduciary and our legal responsibility to make sure our clients have a good understanding of all the potential costs that can come with selling their home. You have to keep in mind that most clients only go through the buy-sell process of a home a few times in their entire lifetime. They don't remember what all costs were involved when they bought the home. Maybe they've never sold a home yet. This is their first home. They don't know all the costs associated with selling a home. It's not just the percentage paid to the agent. And some people may think that. So again, we have to walk them through all the costs so that basically we don't get them under contract to sell their home to them have the ugly surprise at the end that they don't have enough money to buy the future home. They don't have as much money as they were expecting to receive. So that is why this is a requirement of our brokerage, as well as this also coaches them through expect these costs to come out of the process of selling your home. Here's some estimates. And once we get an offer in hand, we're going to show them an apples to apples comparison of this is what we expected. This is what this offer says. So it takes away some of the angst of the negotiating process once you have an offer in hand, because you can just look at the bottom line and say, here's how the numbers lie out. Here's where our estimates, this is what the offer says. We thought you were going to make this amount of money. And with this offer, you're going to make this amount of money. Is it close enough? Do we take it? Do we reject it? Do we counter it? So let's go ahead and dive in. Starting with projected closing. So this does not have to be super accurate. Basically right now it is July and we're in a quick moving market at this moment. So if we list a house in July, it most likely is going to, sell, or excuse me, we're in April right now. If we listed in April, it's most likely going to sell by May, if not June. But keep in mind, somebody takes this property and puts it under contract, that buyer is going to need 3 to 6 weeks to get their financing done for it. So even if we list here in April, we're likely to close maybe late June, maybe in July. So just for the sake of this video, we're going to say we're going to close in July. That comes into effect with some prorations at the bottom. So again, it doesn't have to be super accurate. If the property stays on the market till October, November, don't sweat it. Not a big deal. It's a small part of the final number, but you still have to guesstimate something. So next, what does that homeowner owe to get out of ownership of the home? You'll see some negatives here because this is what's going to cost the seller to sell their home. What is their first mortgage? Do they have a second mortgage? Do they have a home equity line of credit? So one thing that's important and is mentioned here in this little footnote to let them know is that whatever their whatever their principal balance is on their statement, their mortgage statement, that's not the mortgage payoff. Mortgage payoff is usually going to be a little bit more than what their principal balance is. So oftentimes we can just ask them, look, give me a ballpark guess of what your payoff is, what your principal balance is on the home. We'll put that on here, but when you get a chance, call your lender, ask them what the payoff is, and we'll make an adjustment here. So if the numbers are really, really tight and they're not quite sure if they can sell their home or afford to sell their home, tell them we need to get this more accurate. If they're going to make a good chunk of money out of it, then you can be like, look, the final number is going to be a few $1,000s difference no matter how accurate we make this. So again, play that out with your client and we can make this as accurate as they want it to be. For the sake of this video, we're just going to say that somebody's payoff is $205,000. There we go. Last thing as part of the footnote here is you have to ask any potential listing client, did they put their home into forbearance? So if they did put their home into forbearance, they have to call their lender just to ask, I'm looking to sell my home. What are the ramifications of me selling since I put my home into forbearance? Every lender handles that differently. Sometimes it's just a fee. Sometimes it's additional payments at the end of the loan. Again, that's beyond us. That's beyond the spreadsheet. They have to find out from their lender, what does it cost me to sell this home? And you guys, get me off the books. And that number will roll up here. But that is not something that's going to be on their mortgage statement. Just know that. So again, on down to these prorations. So property taxes. Property taxes are paid in arrears, which means, for example, the 2021 property tax bill is going to be mailed out around October, November, December of 2021. So again, say this example house, we put it on the market, the new buyer moves in July, they're only going to have been in that house for a couple months, but then they're going to receive a property tax bill for a year's worth of property tax for a full 12 months. So you see this little negative here? That's because the closing attorney on the closing statement is going to prorate an amount from the seller, from their proceeds, to pay the buyer for the amount of property tax for the time that the seller was still in the property. So that's why it's a negative here. So we're just going to put in $2,400 as a property tax amount. This information is easy to find on CRS data. It's easy to find on county websites. If you need any help with that, don't hesitate to ask. Very easy to dig up. And we will see that prorated amount changes based on what month we we pick from right there. There we go. We'll leave it as July or Q3. All right, HOA fees. HOA fees, well, one, if it's not in an HOA, you can leave 0 here. If the HOA fees are paid either quarterly or monthly, you can just as well leave this as 0. This is designed to calculate annual HOA fees. It does not do an accurate calculation down to months. So again, only annual fees fit in this calculator here. If they are monthly or quarterly, that's fine. Just leave it 0. It's going to be a smaller amount just because if the HOA fees are broken up that much, the proration is going to be so small, it really is going to go out in the wash. But let's just say annual HOA fees are $500. And so again, the opposite proration happens at this point. So generally, annual HOA fees are due in January. So we can assume, or you have to find out, don't assume, ask the seller, did you pay your HOA fees this year? And they paid those in the beginning of the year. They've had the benefit of that HOA, and then they sold the property, and then a new person moves in, and they have the benefit of that HOA, but they haven't paid fees. Basically, the original owner still had paid the fees for the full year. So the closing attorney at the closing table on the CD prorates an amount out of the buyer's money to pay that in addition to the seller, proceeds to the seller, to pay them back for the HOA fees that they paid but aren't going to get the benefit of using. So all these roll down to the total estimated obligations this person has to pay to get out of ownership of their home. It is only as accurate as your seller is willing to share the information with you. I always say that to our clients, of the more accurate information you share with me, the more this will tell you exactly what you should be able to expect. And now we're going to go into basically the list price scenario. We have used this very often in a pre-marketing situation. Say you have somebody who's thinking about selling, but isn't quite sure if they want to sell. Those are the clients generally that don't want to share a whole lot of information because I don't want to open up all my books to you. I'm not so sure how much I want to do this. And so use this as a marketing, as marketing material. This will show that you're doing research on their behalf, not just pulling a business card and say, hey, I can sell your house for this much and make you a lot of money. This shows that you're doing effort and research on their behalf. So use this as marketing material. I suggest in this area here, suggested list price, that this is where you've done your research as an agent and you have found out what you feel like that home should go for. So let's just say our research on this home, we found it could sell for $365,000. Now, keep in mind, this is your client's home, not your home. So that's something that we share with all of our clients. Say like, look, this is what my research tells me, but my research only takes me to a point. This is not my home. This is your home. This is your investment. This is what my research says. Now I need to hear from you. If I want to be your agent, I'm working for you. What do you think? Where do you want to be with this? So again, we have our suggested number in here. Now, if you've done your research, you should also be able to notice through MLS how much on average homes are selling under or above asking price. Right now, we have a crazy market where a lot of homes are selling above asking price. But in a typical market, most homes are selling from around 98 to 99% of asking price. It sounds like that's so close to 100%. What does it matter? Well, let's look at this. Let's say in this neighborhood, it is on average 98.5%. Well, that's listing for $365,000 and then walking away with a sale of $359,000. That's two very different numbers. Something very critical to share with your clients is that there's 3 numbers to keep in mind when you're selling your home. There is the list price for one. Let them know that the expected offer to receive in hand is always distinctly different than the list price. Those are 2 separate numbers, and that's based on your research. Right now, are all homes going for $5,000 over asking price? Put that in here. If you look on Isle of Palms, for example, on average, every home sells for right at about 8% under asking price, meaning this number here would be 92%. That starts making a big difference in expectations of your client as far as where they want to price it and what should they expect to receive based on that price. So again, do your research in MLS. If you need help with that, more than glad to help out with how you found those kind of things out. It doesn't require lots of spreadsheets, just matters how do you use MLS to your best effect. So we're going to cut this video at this point, and then we'll roll into the transactional obligations in the next video. Thank you.